Hello and welcome to another Dota 2 game. I need to get better at actually starting these things off. I probably shouldn't actually just start it off with anything. It's really bad. But it's force of habit now, if anything else. It's really quite bad. It's really quite bad. But here we are. Dota 2, new patch, as you can see. They've actually fixed the interface. For the moment, there was a gap here before. You've got this nice little indicator to show you what bits of the Aghanim's nonsense you've got. Lots of different changes. I do not know what is going on, but I can say a couple of things. I've been seeing a lot of PL, as we do see in this game. I've been seeing a fair bit of Bane. A fair bit of Darks here. That Aghanim's shard seems to be very solid. Bane's reworks, I mean, it feels more like a revert, I don't know. It feels like he's gone back a bit to what he used to be with Proper and Feeble and all that. It seems like a good time. Grimstroke got a few buffs, he might actually be playable. Rubik I've been playing a lot of. This is Saxa on the Rubik. Hopefully we'll learn a little thing, a bit from that. Who knows, what are his starting items? Just standard stuff. Just standard bits and bobs. But, I mean, Zeus, I played one game against the Zeus. He pressed R and half my health went away. So, I don't think they changed a huge much about him, but still seems solid. But either way, nobody truly knows what's what and which way's up at the moment. So, we should at least find out a little bit in this game. I'm curious to see as to who goes for an Aghanim shard, who doesn't think it's worth their time, who goes for what new items. That new blink dagger, Arcane Blink, sounds like a good idea for sounds like a great idea for the Zeus. You know, lower cast point, not really a problem with Zeus, but 25% reduction on cooldowns seems like a fun time with some mint. Nice repositioning tool as well, but we'll see. Big mistake from the Tiny, letting the range get denied, but we will see how that mid matchup starts to pan out as the game goes on. I don't know how PL's going to do down bottom, but Grimstroke's having a rough time already. Getting chased around, does do a little bit of a nice movement into the creep waves to try and deal with the battery assault, and then goes for the most ambitious TP I've seen in a while. But does finally manage to get away. Doesn't really have any regen though, so yeah, Clock is just willing to keep going. And has another battery assault. Should be first blood. Very nice. Even manages to accidentally give it to his Darkseer. Bane narrowly seems to be escaping a similar fate. And a nice little creep pull. PA will get a bit of damage in. But there's not much you can really do to stop this at this point in time. We'll see. We see it seems that everyone's getting decent CS, bar the offlaners at the moment. But mid could be very volatile. Certainly, Tiny has a lot of damage. Zeus doesn't have a lot of health, but Zeus, well, also has a lot of damage and has the much better sustained harass with the Arc Lightning. So I expect to see Tiny always on relatively low HP. And both heroes absolutely susceptible to death if either one of them mispositions or there's a rotation, which is absolutely possible. We have a Clockwork and we have a Rubik. Both heroes can absolutely make early rotations to the mid lane. I would say Clock is a little better at it, especially since he's up against the Zeus. Rubik could, but it does rely more on the Tiny being low when the rotation actually gets started. But we will see the it looks like the Darkseer is doing his best to do Darkseer things and just dodge lane. Now he's level 2, it'll be a lot easier for him to actually... Is it 2 or 3? I think it's 3 actually. That second point in Ion Shell that actually makes the hero kind of vaguely playable. That first point is just tickles more than anything. We saw that earlier when it was just doing no damage. But yeah, I don't. But yeah, what great casting! I don't really know what I'm doing. No one else. I'm just leaving the work to auto director, and I'm just gabbing on. Gabbing on. Maybe I should tell some jokes to pass the time. Who knows? I'm not very good at jokes. I wish I was, actually. Jokes are... I mean, I wish I could be funny. On command. I would argue I'm funny at... on a momentary basis, you know, if someone says something and I can make a joke about it, I can normally whack one off the top of my head. But just stand up, I need to start the joke from the ground up. No, I'm not very good at that. Speaking of jokes, though, it's quite funny that this offlane is crushing the PA Grimstroke safe lane. They pick up second kill on the Grimstroke, and PA is pretty miserable. Definitely going to be looking for that Ring of Regen to which is it? There's a Ring of Regen, the Ring of Health. I think the Health is the one she's going for. I don't know. I don't know names. Bane. Yeah, unfortunate. I mean, if you get caught out by two nukers, you're gonna die if you're a low HP pool hero, and that's exactly what happened. Not a big deal. But it's quite something. It's quite something. I am very jealous of people, of comedians, though, who can actually sort of just do it on command. I mean, it's a skill, though, isn't it? You've got to work at it. But at the same time, PL is getting beaten down. It seems like it's starting... The other two lanes, bar the top lane, seem to be slowly swinging into the Dire's favour. With... I mean, PL and PA seem to be pretty even. But... I feel like PL's getting a slightly shorter end of the stick. And with a nice Inkswell... They might actually manage to get a kill onto Clock with the PA. And Rubik is caught out, comboed up. Might actually just barely survive this. Does, thanks to the uphill miss. Has the salve just in time. Does get cancelled out, but it's healed him enough to stay alive. As the Zeus secures the kill on the top lane Clock. Though, amazingly, PA went down. Which is really not what you like. Not what you like to see. Rubik standing just at the right spot to maybe force a kill onto the mid laner. Thanks to the narrow escape earlier, he does. That's a big play. Staying around just long enough. Gives his life for the kill, yes, but it's worth it regardless to try and slow down. Apparently it's no one on the Tiny. I'm not sure that's quite true. Let's check. No, it is actually no one. Yeah, slowing down no one. That's important. He's pretty good. I've been told he's pretty good. Pretty monstrous mid laner. Certainly, and on someone like a Tiny, especially, there's a lot of heroes. 4 out of 5 heroes on the Dire side are remarkably susceptible to just getting yeeted. And speaking of yeeted, I can't yeet out jokes as well as... I'll just return to this, why not? Not a huge amount is happening. Tiny is setting up top lane to try and kill the PA. And there is a bit of a movement down bottom, but I don't think there's a lot you can do to PL. He'll have a few points in Doppel now. Bane will die, no question about that. But might actually get the deny... No. Would have been very yikes if he did, but... He doesn't get the deny, he gets taken down, but trading the 5 for I mean, it's not a huge rotation, it's only Grimstroke has come down. And they are still here to apply a bit of pressure to PL, but he's got 6. He's got 6, he's got... how many levels in Doppel does he have? He has 1. So yeah, it's killable, but it's not going to be easy. And he has a hood. Oh, yeah, okay. The hood, I don't like it. I don't like hood first on PL. I feel like... Well, I like it if he's going to actually do something on the map, because I don't think it's a very good investment of gold if he then goes on to just farm quite safely for the next 10-15 minutes. And we'll see what he chooses to do. But I think you could maybe just pick up a cloak, a casual cloak, and then go for it. Especially in this game where... It's not... You don't really want to be buying defensive items and then going and jungling. You want to buy farming items and then farm, and it's just a little bit concerning. So we do see a move being made. Nice toss forward of the Clock onto the Zeus to try and catch him, but the Rubik's there with the lift puts an end to that. Though the Darkseer did manage to solo push that top tower down at long last. Quite a hard hero to just actually stand in lane against for a long time. Now Rubik is caught out of position. Surge, quite good at making safe spots less safe, and that is what we see right there. But speaking of Surge, Zeus has his own. Grimstrick gets off a little lightly. The Radiant are definitely taking command of this game so far, thanks to the very solid play from the Darkseer and the Tiny. Not obviously. That's not to say the Clock is doing good work. He's doing quite a bit. Right spot, right place, right time, right press and Q. Yeah, he's doing all right. We'll see if anything actually comes of this. Tiny once again making a move bottom. Magnus looks pretty dead. Yeah. Oh, actually. Yeah, okay, that may have actually gone even worse. No, it's a hasted Zeus. He's going to look for the Tiny kill, and it's going to get him killed, but the PA comes in to clean up. We will see if anything more comes of this. Why am I speaking like this? That's very bad. Now, PA Magnus is a pretty solid draft. Certainly, should speed the PA up quite a bit. It's quite a classic. We'll probably see them turn towards a more farming-oriented playstyle now, but this Darkseer taking the enemy, the Dire jungle, that is going to be an absolutely big problem. That's going to be a major concern. The Clock scouting this. I mean, just stealing the XP. Now he's splitting it 4 ways instead of 2. It's certainly quite. It's something. He's going to die for it. Hopefully, it goes to the Zeus. That's something. Don't know if that. Yeah, that's probably not worth it in the grand scheme of things. Steal some XP, then gets murdered. But oh, it doesn't even stop the stack. Yes, but we'll see this PA just farm up that triangle quite a lot, try and get very fat off of that, but they need to get some space. They either need to take their jungle back, not as easy, or pick up that safe lane tower on the Radiant side. Definitely the easier option. It's definitely they want that. They need to open up the opposing jungle. That's generally the way you do it. You want that in the mid tower, but that's a good start. That's a good start. PL's just playing in the area. He knows he can, which is the benefit of that hood. Though they've not made a huge amount of moves on him, I'm still not a fan of it. I think if there's an itemization mistake that will cost them the game, that might be it. It's going to give this PA a lot of time to try and recover and catch up from... well, it wasn't really a poor laning phase, but you still don't want to give them time. But that's a nice find from the Tiny, but it's not quite enough damage. The brain sap wasn't there. Oh, but the hook shot was. But there's so much save. The Clock's cogs actually ending up putting him further away, almost a protective shield around the PA as he gets skewered and TK'd out. And they do commit the grip onto the Magnus along with the full combo. That's a nice little setup there from the Grimstroke, but unfortunately Magnus goes down before it can be made use of. But the stolen grip is there on Tiny. Can they actually get a lot done here? Just need a little bit of extra damage, but PL has arrived. Should cliff the Tiny here. Does. Which is a nice little bit of extra something to get out of that. And he's not even dead yet on this Rubik. Will be, now that PL has vision. And not a great fight. Again, not a great fight. Let's see if I can grab the recap. Yep, that's deaths on most important heroes bar the PA, on Dire, and only the supports for Radiant. And that looked so good to start with. If they just found that Tiny, they actually finished him off with the Stolen Fiend's Grip, that would have been absolutely a lovely fight. But the Magnus had no chance. If he'd been alive for even an extra second, a little bit unlucky from the Dire. But once again, I mean, it's unsurprising that they walked into that. They weren't aware their triangle was unsafe. It's not something you expect, certainly when they were already occupying your primary jungle. But the Dire are definitely going to start feeling very boxed in. And the net worth lead is building. 4k now in 12 minutes. It's not great. Not what you want. It's not great at all, but we'll have to see what happens. we'll have to see what happens. But it definitely feels like the Dire have really started to snowball this one, taking control of a lot more of the map than they really should be allowed to, off of lanes that didn't feel stompy. They definitely felt like there was a clear winner, but they didn't feel that clear. It wasn't like one side was just demolishing the other. It was just a sort of steady tide up top that slowly pushed forward all the way into the jungle and boxed you out. And Dire are really going to have to start making some intelligent moves around item timings if they want to get some shit done. And that's a Battle Fury on the PA despite having a Magnus. So they are very much, and you do kind of need to go for it. There's a PL on the other team, you need wave clear, obviously. It's not a bad decision, really. Especially when you combine them both. But it's going to slow them down even more. And that's a immediate double kill on both supports. RP used for basically nothing. Catches only 2 people. And he does skewer most of the team, but it only brings him closer to Zeus to kill him. Afterwards, there's the grip. And that's another not quite team wipe. All but carry. Die for 1. Doesn't quite have the same ring to it as 4 protect 1, does it? Very yikes. Very yikes. PA finally, yeah, PA gets found. Yikes. Okay, this is definitely starting to look extremely one-sided because the Dire are consistently taking truly awful fights without their carry. And the other team's carry is actually getting quite a lot done, has now completely caught up with the D-Blade. I still think Hood was a bad decision because, I mean, it slows you down when the other carry is greeding like hell. But thanks to the absolute domination of the top lane and the impressive rotation from the Tiny and mid, it wasn't a big deal. All the space that they needed was created because those 2 cores were absolutely slapping. Just like Rubik gets slapped there. That is the unfortunate reality of the Tiny. He just kind of kills you if you're below about 1,500 HP or so. Almost does it to Zeus, but isn't quite close enough to finish it up. But considering the beefy boy gets slapped down with just a few, PL twats, yeah, this game is looking extremely one-sided. The snowball has finally reached momentum, but hey, they get the Tiny. I mean, there's still a little bit of hope if the PA can just scrounge up a huge amount of farm. Then you still have RP, you still have Soulbind, you still have Zeus ult, and just Zeus in general. Thing puts out damage regardless of how much you shit on it. There's still a vain hope. It's a little rough that they don't have any clear frontline. I mean, obviously the Magnus is a clear frontline, but my Russian's not very good. So I couldn't tell you what that says, but I am working on it. I am working on it very slowly. Eventually I will be able to tell you what they say. But either way, yeah, the Magnus is obviously your frontline, but Magnus wants to play sort of counter-initiation with RP a lot of the time. So it's a bit unfortunate. He's not going to get a good RP if he's your frontline. If he's aware of this, he won't have gone blink. Oh dear, he's very poor. He's much poorer than I expected him to be, and he is the offlaner. Doesn't have the blink even at this deep into the game. Nice little lift from Rubik, trying to save the Grimstroke, but it is all in vain as the Fiend's Grip grabs up the Magnus. They do get the Bane in retaliation, but the PL is taking top tower, and they're already on top of the Zeus. Now there's just so much damage, doesn't want to walk through the wall, but has no choice. And finally the Rubik gets tossed back into the hubbub. And once again, only PA is left alive. Does get a couple of nice crits. But the PO is able to just doppel and wander away because that hero is impossible to kill without... Yeah, just a lot. You need quite a lot. It's a very well constructed draft for the Radiant. I don't think it's bad for the Dire either, but I do think you don't I feel like you're lacking something. You've got 3 backline supports and a counter initiator, whereas, I mean, yeah, you can initiate on the mag, but it's not quite as clean as just on a Tiny or a Clock, or even a Darkseer. All 3 of those can sort of go first. It doesn't matter as much. I mean, Tiny is nice and pick off. You don't have that as cleanly in the Dire Draft. I just think there's a little bit of lack of beef and really and good skirmish starters. People who, yeah, skirmish starters. Let's call it that. Yeah, beefy skirmishers. That's what they're missing. It's not the easiest description, and that's a hookshot that didn't look quite like it hit, but finds its mark anyway. And they do actually manage to cancel out the Fiend's Grip, and that might give the PA some room to get away. But a Nightmare is there with the Ion Shell to slowly tickle the PA to death, and that is a team wipe on top. And I have no idea how the game audio is balanced against my mic. I'm hoping it's fine. I won't check. I'm extremely lazy. No one else watches these videos, so I sure as hell am not going to. At least until I get a lot further into it. I'm trying to get a bit more reliable. A little bit more consistent, that's the word I was looking for. A little bit more consistent with the uploads. Try and get 3 a week, maybe. And just try and crank out 100 or so, you know. 100 or so videos, so I can prove that I can do it. And see how good I get, I suppose. I'm getting a little bit better at just coming up with topics and talking to myself, because, you know what, I am jealous of Sir Action Slacks and his ability to just to just sort of always be entertaining. Because that's not easy. I mean, yeah, sure, he does get to prep for it a bit. But it really isn't easy. Dude is big brain with what he does. I think he's a pretty intelligent guy, all things considered. Completely off the wall, like a special brand of intelligence, a unique one. But we'll see if we can see some unique intelligence come out from the Dire here as they try and find their way back into the game, which may in fact be that double damage rune in the river. It has been scouted out by the PA, and now they have a double damage PA, and that is their way back into this game. Managing to kite away from the Clock. This PA has to pick her fights very well, and yes, it goes for the Bane first, but it's just not enough. There's no team left by the time you've found your target, and so they cannot stop the Fiend's Grip. And yeah, that's unfortunate. Rubik just slowly getting charged down, and now quite quickly getting charged down. Somehow still alive. Tiny coming in for the final slap. Gets TK'd. He's really making him work for it. But this one, well, we know how this one is going to end unless he pulls out some truly insane majiggery. I think they're just toying with him. I think they're just toying with him. What is going on up there? What is going on? And then, yeah, they finally decide to kill him. At long last. But I suppose he bought a lot of time, but it didn't really matter. They're killing all the buildings anyway. Yep, that's a rough one. That is a rough one. That was just a sort of... I don't even think the mid lane was went particularly in the favour of Tiny. I don't think that. I think the PL actually lost the bottom lane. I think you can sort of tell that by the way he went Hood. I don't think that's an item you rush if you're doing really well in lane. But I could be mistaken. I know it's an item you often pick up, but I just think he got it too early, even though it has worked out here. PA desperately trying to get some farm. But yeah, that top lane just sort of snowballed out of control, and the Tiny took a relatively even mid lane and ran around the map, turning a lot more out of it. And oh yeah, she got the deny on the PA. That's actually not bad. That is not bad, I suppose. But yep, they're just crossing the T's and dotting the I's at this point. It's just a matter of cursive before this game is over.
Is Dire going to let that middle tower fall?
Cursive is such an odd way to write when you really think about it. Well, just writing, I suppose, is a bit weird in general, isn't it? When you actually think about it, language is kind of odd. It's a bunch of symbols in a row on a page, or spoken aloud. And we all somehow know what that means, despite thousands of subtle variations. I mean, there's not much to say. Fountain diving. Fountain diving, fountain diving. PL won't even die because PL things. And there we have it. Just solid play all around.